In the previous class, we have completed frame relay while using point-to-point technique, right? So I hope you configure that previous assignment question as well. Uh, like where I have given one question where you do the frame relay configuration while using subnetting method. And the second method is multi-point configurations. So in the multi-point, what you need to do, like as we have done point to point, so simply wherever you're writing the value like you know uh, encapsulations, frame relay, right? And then you're mentioning that particular sub interface like after element type, right? Like int and sub interface 0/0.1, and then you are mentioning the method of the frame relay point to point, right? So in case of uh, when you'll go for the multi-point, so there you have to type that interface serial 0/0.1, and then you'll type only multi-point on there. But simply wherever you are writing point to point, in case of your multi-point configurations, you have to mention that like in place of multi point to point, you have to mention that multi point simply, and same all the things will be there as it is. You don't have to make any changes. So I hope you can do the multi point configuration from your side. I don't have to show you, right? So the what the command I can write it here. Only one command that you have to make change, and rest of the everything will be same. So the changes will be in the case. Suppose you are the particular interface real 0/0, right? So you write the sub interface real. Am I audible, guys? Am I audible to all,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
audible.
Yes,
So
sir.
here, where you make the changes, just see. Like suppose you are writing serial 0/0.1, right? So here you have to mention that previously you are writing point hyphen 2 point, right? Like that way. So here simply you write multi-point, multi-point, and rest of the things will be as it is. No changes. I mean, like how you use for the point to point. Everything will be same. Only in place here previously you are writing point to point, hyphen 2 point. Now here you have to mention that multi-point. I hope you can do that. So I'm not again going to show you the entire configuration due to this single word command, right? So you can try from your side. So that will be another homework question. I will not keep this question as an assignment also because it's a very simple thing. You all can do that. But as a just for your understanding, you can practice from your side. It's a class work, or you can say that will be your homework. So now we will move ahead with the next topic, that is your NAT. So you can write the heading NAT, network address translation. NAT is the network address translation. You can write the full form as well. So what is NAT actually? Like whenever in our network, like when you create local area network or personal area network, so generally we uses private IP addresses. And over the internet, like many people can have the same private IP, right? Like in your office might be if you are using private IP for the different employer, right? Or in your computer lab, if all the desktop has been configured with the one, I mean, different private IP, right? And just think of it in other colleges, like their lab also they have configured with a private IP and that IP is similar to your IP. Like what you have configured. Suppose in your computer lab, your IP for the each and every desktop is like 10.0.1, 0.0.2, 0.3, 4, 5, like that way you have configured in your computer lab. And think of it, ITR college people in their computer lab, they have also configured the same IP. So private IP can be the same, like that is not a problem. So when you communicate over internet, then how internet will get to know that you are whether the message is coming from you are requesting for the services or Trident people are requesting for service, or maybe some ITR people, maybe some other colleges. So multiple, organization in their office or in their different institutions, they can configure the same type of private IP to their environment, right? So in this case, if you have if you have multiple private IPs and those are the same, so in this situation, how internet will get to know whether the message where to where I have to send the message. I mean, suppose you are requesting, some other people are also requesting with the same IP. So how the internet service provider, how we can say that when you are requesting to one of the web services, so how it will be, reply to that the same host who asked that maybe someone is with the IP of 10.0.0.1 is requesting Facebook, and someone with the IP 0.0.1, he is also he is requesting via Instagram, and then someone is requesting that Flipkart, right? They wanted to open that, right? So how internet will be providing with the same IP with a multiple user different things, right? So it will be a difficult. So in this situation, whenever you are searching over internet anything, so it must be public IP should be there, because public IP is always will be a unique IP. Private IP can be the same for the multiple user, but the thing is that over the internet, whenever you are searching any of the things, so it must be your ID, whatever IP you are using in your environment, that should be mapped from private to the public. Then only you can access that any kind of resources, and over the internet, you will be identified as the unique user. I mean, you will be identified as the you are the unique user for all over the globe at that point of time, right? And someone else is like, suppose they are requesting something, so they should also be identified as the unique, I mean, user for what all over the globe. So in this situation, so what technique that internet that uses to get or to map from the private to the public IP, that concept is called as a network address transfer. That is called as a NAT. So by default, in each and every system, NAT is configured. So due to that, even in our environment, if our IP is showing private IP, but from the backend, whenever we are searching over the internet, anything, so at that point of time, it will be mapped from our private IP to the public IP. So this technique is called as a network address translation. So you can write the one line definition. It is a technique of translating private IP address into public IP address. Private IP address into public IP address. Now, we will understand this concept with some topology, and we'll take one scenario how the entire thing is happening over the internet. So just think of it. We have some devices connected with the switch. So just see the scenario like in our network, we have the multiple devices and their IP is like this one, this interface IP is let it be 10.0.0.0.1 and for this user IP is 10.0.0.2 for this 10.0.0.3 and for this computer 0.0.4. Okay, and here we are configuring that the NAT on this router. Okay, so all these IP that for the PC and the default gateway which are connected to this router, which are called as a which IP guys? Private or public IP? Which type of IP is this?
Private.
Private, public.
So all are the private IP. Someone is telling public IP. So do you remember the range or you forgot, guys? If after taking 1.5 months of classes, you are not able to recognize the private and public, then there is no meaning of learning CCNA. Because this is the simplest thing and very important thing also, like identifying that private and public IP. So do you know the ranges of private public IP for each and every classes? 10
क्लास
dot
क्लास
class
8.10.00 से शुरू होकर 10.255.255.255 और क्लास बी ने 172.16 से 172.31 तक जाता है
hmm,
और क्लास सी 192.168
hmm,
कंफ्यूज कर गया अब यहाँ पे
002 192.168.255 पे जाएगा। ठीक है, गुड गुड अटेम्प्ट। देखो तो क्लास सी का मैं यहाँ पे छोटे से यहाँ पे रेंज वगैरह डिफाइन कर दे रहा हूँ, तुम लोग इसको लिख लो और याद रखो बार बार। ये तो बार बार तुम उनको पहले ही बताया था मैंने, एंड इन योर LMS also everything is given. The range is like 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255। याद रखना क्लास बी का जो स्टार्टिंग होता है 172.16.0.0 टू 172.31.255.255 और क्लास सी क्या है 192.168.0.0 टू 192.168.255.255। ये रेंज याद रखना। ये हमेशा इसी रेंज में अगर तुम आईपी कहीं भी देखते हो और कोई भी पूछता है तुम्हारा कौन सा आईपी है, प्राइवेट है पब्लिक है, अगर इस रेंज में है तो तुम उसको डायरेक्टली बोल सकते हो प्राइवेट। लेकिन इस रेंज से बाहर है कोई भी आईपी, इसके अलावा अगर कुछ कॉन्फ़िगर है इस रेंज के अलावा, तो सारे आईपी को तुम बोल सकते हो इट इज अ पब्लिक आईपी। ओके, तो नाउ
सर 169.254 वाला ये जो अपीपा का है ना तो वो भी इंक्लूड नहीं करेंगे ना पब्लिक में।
नहीं, अफ्रीका तो खुद ही पब्लिक आईपी की तरह यूज होगा, क्योंकि अफ्रीका का आईपी अलग अलग थोड़े होगा हर जगह, सब जगह पूरे ग्लोब में एक ही आईपी होगा, वो फिक्स है आईपी, तो वो भी एक पब्लिक आईपी ही है। ऐसा नहीं है कि अफ्रीका का आईपी तुम्हारे नेटवर्क में कुछ और है और कोई और ऑफिस में कोई और कंपनी के नेटवर्क में उसका आईपी अफ्रीका कुछ और डिक्लेयर कर दिया, किसी और में कोई और declare- ऐसा नहीं है। तो वो आईपी जो है 169 वाला, अगर वो अपीपा का है तो ये अपीपा का आईपी ऐसा नहीं है कि अलग अलग कंपनी अलग अलग अपीपा का है, सब जगह सेम है, इसका मतलब वो भी एक पब्लिक आईपी की तरह ही यूज हो रहा है। अंडरस्टूड? Now see here, in this situation, right? So here all the IP what we have configured in our network, like so let it be this is my organizations and where I have used this all the private IP. But whenever I will search something over the internet, I'll request to the internet service provider. Here there is a ISP, let it be. So they will, they will interact and they will reply to the public IP only. I mean, they will not get to know that, this IP in my network is 10 dot. Someone else like take Mahindra office and they are using also the same IP. Let it be. These are the PC they are connected in their office for their employer and they are also using the same IP 10.0.0.1. maybe 2, you can start from 2 or 10.0.0.3 and 10.0.0.4, right? So these PC are also having the same IP. They are also having, so they are requesting that web server. Maybe they are requesting for some of the web pages, and they are requesting also some of the web pages. Okay, so how this internet, just think of it. So how they will get to know that, okay, they are also requesting same thing, they are also requesting the same thing. देन इट इज फाइन, चलो दोनों को एक साथ भेज दिया, सेम सेम चीजें हैं तो दोनों को एक ही रिक्वेस्ट पे डाल दिया, हम दोनों को चला गया। लेकिन अगर ये इसी सेम आईपी से 10.0.2 से ये फेसबुक ओपन करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, और ये 10.0.2 से ये ओपन करने का कोशिश कर रहा है इंस्टाग्राम, तो अब इसको जो है, ये जो राउटर जो है, और जब इंटरनेट सर्विस प्रोवाइडर को भेजेगा, ये तो सेम ही आईपी भेजेगा फिर 10.0.2, ये भी 10.0.2 से आएगा। तो फिर इसको कैसे पता चलेगा कि हमको जो है इसको इंस्टाग्राम भेजना है, इसको फेसबुक भेजना है? तो ऐसे फिर कंफ्यूजन वहां पे क्रिएट होगा। तो इनके लिए हमें हर तुम्हारे सिस्टम के लिए एक ना एक क्या होता है, पब्लिक आईपी हमारा मैपिंग होता है, मतलब प्राइवेट से पब्लिक आईपी। वही काम जो है नेट करके देता है। तो अब नेट के भी बहुत सारे टाइप्स होते हैं यहाँ पे। किस टाइप का मैपिंग तुम करना चाहते हो? 1-to-1 मैपिंग, आई मीन हर प्राइवेट आईपी का हर एक एक पब्लिक आईपी दोगे, या तुम्हारे पास जो है पूल ऑफ आईपी रहेगा, तुम्हारे जो भी रेंजेस तुम डिफाइन कर दिए, पब्लिक आईपी मैं इतना इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को दे दिया हूँ, और जिस टाइम में, क्योंकि सारे डिवाइसेस एक टाइम में इंटरनेट एक्सेस नहीं करते, कुछ लोग करते हैं, कुछ लोग नहीं करते हैं, तो उस पूल ऑफ आईपी में जिस समय जो आदमी एक्सेस करने की कोशिश करेगा, उसमें से एक आईपी पब्लिक आईपी उसको असाइन कर दिया जाएगा। उसको हम बोलते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अ डायनेमिक नेट। तो वन इज कॉल्ड एज अ स्टैटिक नेट, वेयर 1-to-1 मैपिंग will happen.
Trial.
So in this case, like if you have 10 private IPs, so there will
Trial.
be 10 public IP will also be mapped, right? Like तुम ये मत करो,
Trial.
अनम्यूट मत करो, ये लक्ष्मी, डोंट अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ, यू आर डिस्टर्बिंग द क्लास। Yeah. So in this case, you can go ahead with either static mapping, dynamic mapping you can use. I mean, a dynamic NAT you can use, or NAT itself is also a type, NAT or PAT, that is called as a port address translation as well as a network address translation. So here you can write down the types of NAT configuration will be the 3. Like one is called as a static NAT. So in that static NAT, what will happen? That is the concept called 1-to-1 mapping. What does it mean by this 1-to-1 mapping? Each and every private IP should be mapped with the 1 public IP. Suppose you have IP like 10.0.0.2. This is the one of the private IP. So maybe if you are using some of the IP like 122.x, x means 255, from 0 to 255, any value you can take, 1.1. If you have IP like 10.0.0.3, then it will map with the 122.x.1.3 or 2, whatever. You have the IP like 10.0.0.4, it will be mapped with 122.x.1.3, right? So that type of mapping will happen. I mean, each private IP will be mapped with a one public IP. This concept is called as a static mapping. Then another is called as a dynamic mapping. Okay. So in this case, what you can use? Yes. Yeah. Tell me.
Here the private IPs and mapped, but it is only with the 122 family. So like, how is it used?
Sorry.
Here we are mapping it only to the 122 family of the public IP. So there are like we can use 192, 122. We can use different IP as well, right?
Yes, you can use, but mapping is for public IP. If you use 192, then it will be a private, na? You join class late or what?
Suppose we use any other public IP group other than 122.
Use it. That is all your choice. I mean, this IP will be provided by the ISP, not even you also. So internet service provider will give you this each and every, map, like which type of, NAT has been configured on your devices. And another thing is that when you are connecting over the internet, so NAT, if by default, if NAT is enabled, right? So on that case, when you connect at a particular period of time, you will be allocated with the one of the public IP. But the thing is that when you connect with the one of the Wi-Fi where bunch of private IP configured on your lab, like if you are using computer lab where all the desktop have been configured with the private IP 10.0.0 or 192 dot or 172 or something like that, right? 100 PCs are there and every PC is configured with a private IP. So in this situation, what will happen? So there will be a, either you are using the static, generally they use that NAT or dynamic NAT configurations. Or if you go ahead with the static, so each and every system, whoever will configure with the private IP will be mapped with the one-on-one public IP. So you know that the ranges of that public IP. So here I have just at the beginning of the session, I have defined that what are the ranges for the public IP and private IP. So here, if you know the private IP range, so rest of the IP will be called as a public IP. Just see on the screen. If you start the IP from 0.0.02 to 0.255, so that is the class A private IP range. If you'll take an example of 172.60.0.0 and it will go up to 31, so it will become the your private IP of the class B. And for the class C, 192.168.0.02, 192.168.255.255. This is for the class C. So if you'll use out of this range any of the IP, that is called the private IP. And here, whatever IP I'm writing it, like when I'm doing the mapping, so this IP 10.0.0.2 is mapped with a 122.x. X means any values you can take 0 to 255, or you can use directly 255. That is not an issue, right? So dot 1.1. This is the one of the unique IP I have suppose allocated for this private IP. Another is 1.2. So this IP is not same. 122 we have started, but end value just see. Here is 2, here is 1, here is 2, here is 3. All the IP has got, it's a different one, right?
So
And
I'm saying that instead of 122, if we use any other group, like
you
that.
can use other values like 200, something like that. Because see, here, if you'll take the range 190 to 168, any value if you're coming under this, then it will be private. But apart from that, all value will be public. So you can use any value, na? Apart from this, like suppose class C I'm using it, or class A suppose IP I'm using. So what I can write? I can write it here 11 dot something like that. Instead of 122, I can write like 11 dot 11 dot 11 dot 1. For next one, 11 dot 11 dot 11 dot 2 I can use, or like maybe 11 dot 11 dot 11 dot 3. Or apart from that, like suppose you want to say, no, sir, I will not do it 11, I'll use 12. Yeah, that is fine. But someone will take, no, sir, I will use 10. It has been started, and I will use that 192.168.10.10. Will it use this value, guys? Will it be accepted this value? Tell me
No,
the
sir.
answer. No, this one will not be accepted. Why? Who has asked this question? That person will respond.
The private IP, that's it.
Yes. Now you have understood. So this IP will not be allocated. 192 will not be allocated. Instead of 122, you cannot write 192 because it is a private IP and 10 is also private. So it will map with the private to private. So what is the meaning of mapping? सच मैपिंग मत करो, इंटरनेट से बाहर रहो, तो कुछ पेज एक्सेस नहीं करना है. तो मैपिंग तभी होगा जब तुम उसको पब्लिक दोगे. Okay, so I hope it's clear to all. So this is for the static NAT configurations where one-to-one mapping will happen. But when you will go for the dynamic NAT, so on there will be a the command which when you do the packet tracer configuration, you'll see like we uses the pool of public IP like where you will allocate, like suppose I have used 122.x.1.1, right? To I'll allocate like some IP like 122.x.1.4. Okay. So out of this range, or some other value also take, like suppose I am using 4 IPs. You want to use, no, sir, I will use 100 IPs other pool. So you do that. You can check any ranges, right? So this out of this pool of this IP, this is the what is a pool of public IP. So in this case, what will happen? Like whenever you will create a pool of public IP, so as many PCs you'll connect in your network, right? Suppose you have connected a pool of 4 PC, and all the 4 PC are trying to access the internet and access the web servers, right? So they all can access. But if you have 10 PCs in your network, and you have created a pool of only 4 IPs, or all 10 people wanted to access something over internet, can they access? What is your answer? Can they access? Did you understand my question?
No, sir. Can you repeat it again?
Yeah, the question is that suppose I have created a pool of 122.x.1.1 to 122.x.1.4, and this is the pool of public IP. Okay, but in my network, 10 PCs are there. Okay, a 10 PC configured with the private IP, and all 10 people wanted to access the web server. Can they access?
No, sir.
We can
No, sir.
change the value of X and
No, I'm not talking about the changing the values. What I
Sir, they
said, the
not.
question you have not understood. The question is that I have created a pool only for 1.1 to 1.4, 122.x.1.1 to 122.x.1.4. And in my lab, like 10 people has been configured with the private IP, and they all wanted to access the web server. Can they access? Yes or no?
no,
No,
sir.
sir. No, sir.
No, they cannot access at that point of time. Because 4 PC, only those who will request first request, those who will do. I mean, even there will be a differences in the microsecond also. Then also they will operate for the top 4 PC. Whoever will request first, they will be processed first. I mean, 4 IP will be allocated for those 4 PC. And remaining whatever 6 PCs will be there, they have not been allocated with the any of the public IP. So at that point of time, they have to wait. They will be on the waiting list. Okay. Then next time, suppose just think of it, this 4 PC, they have started accessing web page. Okay. At any point of time, they have stopped the internet. I mean, they don't want to go and surf on the internet and not. They want to do something else. Okay. So that one of the PC they have removed. I mean, they have disconnected from the internet. So at that point, can the fifth PC can access that person is trying to request that some of the servers? Can they access now at that point of time? What is your answer?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And
Yes,
that
sir.
that PC will access. Again, one of the PC will get disconnected, then the sixth one also will get access. Like that with the process will happen over internet. So that till the time when we are not getting an public IP, you will be on the waiting. So that is the concept of the dynamic net. Like that's why we create a large pool. If your ranges of the pool is large, so in this case, even you have that as many devices in your network, everybody will be allocated with the sum of the IPs, public IP, so that they can access that internet and web server and everything. Right now, if we'll come to that the NAT, so NAT is the concept, like generally this is the concept actually they use in the industries. NAT, or this is called as also a PAT, port address translation, or NAT. PAT is bit different, but it will take an example of the NAT. So here the single IP address that will be with a particular port number is used for all the private IPs. Okay, I mean, then how it will be recognized? So it will be recognized through that particular period of time. Suppose you have that one port number that will be accessed, used for your particular IP. Like suppose I have used that IP address like 122.x.1.1. So here the single IP will be there for your network. Single IP, like suppose you have purchased one IP, one public IP, okay, from the internet service provider, and that is the public IP for your entire computer lab. Okay, so in your lab, how many system are there? Let it be 100 system are there, and 100 system configured with the private IP. But when you are searching over internet, 100 people are searching, so they should also need that one public IP, right? But in case of like using the NAT, so they will be mapped with the one public IP. Then how internet service provider will get to know that, okay, this is coming from this PC and this is coming from, request is coming from that PC. So in this situation, they use that NAT and PAT, both things. I mean, IP plus port number. The port number, like whatever the server you'll request, okay. So on that basis, that through the port number, they will get to know that, okay, this is the IP for this particular lab. I mean, this is the public IP. They will identify first the lab, and then they will check with that, okay, what is the port number for that particular users. So on that basis, it will reply to that particular users that what that he or she is wanted to access that particular piece. Someone is every site is having their, just suppose HTTP like you're using, so their port number is fixed, right? 80, or you're using some website with the HTTPS 443, and then again you have the website with the particular predefined sites. So every sites with the predefined values like a port number, that is also will be unique values. So accordingly, it will be identify the network and it will send to that reply to that particular users. So this concept actually that is used as a NAT or PAT. So here we will start with the static NAT and then we'll configure that dynamic and NAT. So all those things we'll learn one by one. So just understand in this case, like coming to this scenario, just look at here. Like here I have
So,
figured this all the IP. Yeah, tell me.
so how does the NAT understand which port number it should assign the public IP?
So while you request, like you are requesting to that particular wave server, no? So that is also having some port number and IP, right? When you request, so they have that the different server that were allocated that all the port number or the IPs. So on that basis, what will happen? Like whenever you search some of the website or some of the server, right? So it is having their one public IP. Like Facebook is having their own public unique IP, right? And Instagram is also having that one of the public unique IP. Like each and every website, like official websites, those who are recognized by the government, it's not the fake or some the hacker is doing some kind of mischief and all on that website you're opening. So that is not I'm talking about. But all that genuine websites are having their unique, public IP. And when you'll request to that, and through that IP as well as the port, like on which port that website that you are going to access. So that is the concept of port addressing, where it will be whenever the user is trying to access that particular websites. So at that point of time, they have their public IP, and where it will be under the routing table of the router, it will be feeling that, okay, this user is requesting for that of the websites, okay, and the source and destination IP is this, and whenever it will go on the internet, so you have configured the NAT. So whatever private IP will be there, it will be mapped with the one of the unique IP, like public IP, and on that basis, it will be, over the internet, it will be recognized that, okay, so this is the public IP. It is for the computer lab. Let it be your computer lab, and someone else is also suppose using the same IP, but the request is coming from your side because your IP for this, like suppose you have used that one of the public IP, let me define that. So here for your system, entire system, one public IP is allocated like 122.10.10 let it be 1. So this is the one of the NAT has given that one of the IP. While using NAT configurations, you are using single public IP for your network, right? Maybe your computer lab. And this is another computer lab from the ITR, and they are also using the same IP, but their public IP will be different, na? Their IP will also be different. Not this IP will not be used because they need to also purchase that IP, public IP. So might be they are using like 122.10.10. Let it be 2. So the both the public IP are different, right? So here, whenever you're sending the request, so over the internet, if you'll go through this router to the cloud, right? So at that point of time, like in their routing table, the destination will see the source will be started. Whatever request will be coming from this side, so it will be when it will go over the internet. So it will map. It will map to the all the private IP will be mapped to this public IP. So here it will be a public IP of 122.10.10.1. So that part will go over the internet, this public IP, and this side it will go this one, 10.2, right? So in this situation, whenever it will reply, so first it will check. Like suppose this PC is sending some request, so they will be mapped to this IP, this public IP. If they are sending request, they will be mapped to this IP. So every organization, if they're using different public IPs, right? So they will be on that mapping, like when they'll send a request and when you'll get a reply over from the web server, at that point of time, whatever your public IP there, accordingly to will identify that okay, this is the public IP for these people, because these people has been given this public IP. For this lab we have given this public IP. So it will recognize that, right? It will recognize over this router only itself, and then when it will be replying to that these all the PCs, right? So here it will goes through the port address, like you have used the port address, like you have searched, someone is search with that some Facebook, or someone is searching Instagram, someone is searching something else, Flipkart and all, right? So here when it will reach to that, because also that the router will send to that switch immediately, because this is the address that is for this computer lab. When it will reach to the switch has that, as you know that, like two things that switch uses. There is a MAC concept. So they have the detail of all the who is sending the request through the MAC address. So when it will go to the switch and who will be the destination, they will receive the packet, because they through the MAC address it will reply to that. But in this case, when you send a request, so two things it will be used here, like which page you wanted to access. So that page and there the port number. Okay, like suppose you are through the HTTP you are getting a request, right? Because you need the web page. So HTTP port number 80 will be used, but they are using suppose HTTPS or something else like TCP UDP you are using concept, or you are going through that some predefined all the ports, like whatever port which will be used over the computer network. So on that basis it will be identified, okay, so these people are trying to access through this public IP, and this is the port number for this users. Accordingly it will reply to that router interface, and then router will immediately send to the switch. And what switch will do? Switch will send its reply to the all the initially or all the devices. Only who will receive that, who are having that the MAC address of that. So entire, if you see the configuration, so it is not only like only we are talking about the NAT. NAT is only for the top level configuration. But at behind of that, what the router is using concept, source destination IP concept, routing table, the switch is having their own their MAC table. So that thing will not be removed. वो तुम्हारा रहेगा। तो जो पहले से हम जानते हैं जो बेसिक चीजें होता है वो हमारा जैसे प्रोसेस डाटा हमारा जाएगा सेंडर रिसीवर जैसे सेंड करते थे, everything will be similar. Only the new thing where what is adding in the net, that most of the, I mean all the IPs, or you can say that the single IP address with the port number that will be used for that what for all the private IPs in that your network, right? So that concept is just new for you in the NAT, but the before of that, what we have learned, like how the message will be sent from the switch to the devices through the MAC address, through this public and private IP concept. So public is now it's coming public. We were talking about initially what is a private IP address plus your MAC address. So through the MAC address, they will get to know that who will be receiving, going to receive this packet, because all the source and destination MAC, whoever will be replying the port of that particular what your switch is having that detail. Like you have that each and every port. If you'll take an example of switch, like suppose 24 ports are there. Okay, so on the 24 ports you have their each and every device's MAC detail. Like here I am connecting one device, here is another device, here another device. We have the switch. Okay, this port is having their one of the MAC address of this switch. This port is having the MAC address of this switch. This port is having the MAC address of this switch, right? So whenever the message will come to this port, so on this case, what will happen? Like this message will, to whom we have to send. Initially, they will do the broadcasting. I have told you multiple times. So when the broadcasting will happen, then who will receive the message? The message that person will only receive that who has sent the request, right? Suppose I have sent the request. So in this port, the switch will get an entry. Okay, this PC is trying to send a message, and this PC is having the MAC of let it be MSC and something like 0.0.2, and then you have like some values like 48-bit size is there na, of the MAC. So accordingly it will be entered to this port. This PC will, when send a message, the all the details of the MAC address of this PC will be entered to this port, right? So whenever it will replying to that particular device, so only the destination of that particular device, the MAC address, it will be received. So the port addressing is the very important over here. And after when it is going from the switch to the router, there is the concept of your what that the public IP, because here till this all the private IP will be used. So from the router to the cloud, suppose you are using, so in this case here it will be used that particular public IP for your network. Another network, another public IP will be there. Like that way it will be configured. So through that your IP along with your port number or your port addressing, it will be sent to the destinations from the internet service provider. So that concept and another thing is that here I have used that one web server. Remember this, guys. So like when you use that, the cloud here and the web server. So basically your request is coming from this router, okay, with the public IP. Here we have the one public IP. It is going to that what that is internet, that is our internet service provider, and where they will be connecting to the web server which thing you wanted to access, that which type of website you wanted to access, right? So everything again they will reply to another public IP. Remember this, there also there will be another public IP it will be used. Maybe suppose web server IP like 200 1.10.20 let it be 1. They are replying through this IP because every website is having their own public IP, right? So they will reply through that IP only, and it will goes to that what here over internet. And in this internet to whom you have to send, then it will be decided in this side through the ISP. And then it will be replying to where, to the cloud interface, sorry, to the router interface. And router interface is having that multiple public IPs, because you have configured that maybe NAT. So in the NAT is not only for, remember this single IP is not only for entire your globe. Remember this single IP will only for the particular, like local area network. Suppose you are configuring, or you are configuring like maybe your for the office or for your home network, right? Or for your computer lab, for each and everything there will be a one public IP. It doesn't mean that for your lab, you are from the KIT, your lab is same public IP, and for the Trident lab people are also having the same public IP, and ITR is also having same. No, this concept is not been used. Remember this. In the NAT, for your computer lab they have given one public IP. For Trident computer lab they have given one public IP. You have purchased, I mean, from the ISP, right? Suppose. And for the ITR they are also using that one public IP. So on that basis it will be identify like which public IP for which computer lab, whether for the KIT, for the ITR, and for the your particular Trident. It depends upon that, right? Then it will check that which public IP is going to be replied, right? And then when it will reply to the one of the public IP, then it will then the job of your switch, it will reach to the switch, and switch will check with the port in the sense of each and every PCs, whoever will be connected to that particular ports of the switch. So it is having their, initially it will do the broadcasting, and then it will get to know whoever will be replying to that particular port, it will fill that their MAC table. In the MAC table there will be a destination of that particular devices. So whoever will have the send a request, they will get a reply. I hope it's clear to all. So that is the entire concept that is used on the NAT. So you have, that's why I have taught you there are three types of NAT: static, dynamic, and the NAT or PAT itself. So in the next class, I think ma'am will take your class today. So
Yeah, I'm there in the class itself.
okay, so in the next class, what we'll do, we will go ahead with that particular static NAT configurations, and in the packet tracer, we'll write the code for this. Okay, so I hope it's clear to all. You can also go through the LMS and learn more about the NAT and all the public private IP convergence, or the translation from the private to public IP over the web server, over the internet, over the different routers. Everything just you can explore more and more. from your materials, and in the next class, we will do the configurations. So we'll see you tomorrow. Madam, you can start the session.
Yes, thank you. So good morning to all of you. Am I audible to all?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. Good
ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, guys. So let us start with the fourth module. The screen is visible, guys.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have done with the port scanning. Now let us start with your another topic, that is your IDS, that is intrusion detection prevention system. So intrusion prevention detection system. I think this slide is also done. Okay. Anyhow, let us do it again if it is completed also. So IDS do have one kind of detection technique over your network, the devices which is basically connected over your network. So it do have several tools like your server, firewall, and any host operating system that can be your Windows or Linux, and that basically the IDS basically look for or check for any kind of malicious traffic. Now, if the IDS will detect that kind of malicious traffic, so at that point of time it will generate an alert to the network admin to take any take the actions, and also it will take the record of that one. Okay, so it will log that particular type of traffic and report. Then after, the scanning is performed by the IDS, and it basically slow down the latency rate of the particular network. And after that, we have also talked about this one, right? Intrusion detection, where how it will be working, like, as because the network could slow down, so that is why it will work in a background, so that like we can say that when there is no work from the user side, like if he is not using any kind of internet or something is not working for that one, so that period of time it will analyze again and search for that particular matching whenever he got the malicious activities and all, and then he will detect it and perform certain actions to protect your particular device, right? Up to this we have done. Now, real-time detection in this particular case. So many organizations nowadays cannot able to detect the attacks until and even that has already been occurred, and due to that they are losing many data, or they are basically their particular organization detail got sacrificed with the hand of the attacker. So detecting an attack is basically, it requires a real-time scanning, or we can say that real-time detection, login, then taking up actions and all. So if it will be helpful if we will use certain kind of client and server model to detect this kind of online threats, that is right now is very concerned things are there right now is going on. So today we are doing some kind of active scanning devices, and softwares are also been implemented, which is basically working as a real-time detection in the network to find out the anomalies by using some kind of context-based analysis by the behavior of the detections, by the behavior of the traffic and all. Now there comes the most potential attack is basically denial of service, that is DDoS, which basically requires a real-time detections, and the response needs to be taken care, because DDoS is nothing but an attack which is regularly creeping the internet server and the networks which are basically available. So these attacks are extremely difficult to find and to take the actions, because there are multiple attacks based on this type of DDoS. That can be even zombie host attack, can appear as a legitimate traffic, So these are the real-time attack that needs to be get detected and the action needs to be taken at that period of time, right? The next is again protecting against the malware. So again, when you are talking about this malware, so that period in this particular context, we are talking about the zero-day attack. So these are what advanced persistent threats, that is known as APPs, which are basically used by certain organization to advance their malware detection solutions. Like once they have set some softwares or some detection techniques, and then after they will test this kind of attacks first. So like Cisco use this kind of advanced malware protection systems like ThreatGrid and all. So in this case, they will basically check about the client and software can be get deployed on a host and as a standalone server, and other networks to be get connected over that. And in that period of time, they will do this kind of attack so that it will check and analyze whether the millions of files and any millions of file or data it got attacked by these malicious activities or not. So ATP is what one type of technique in which it will check for the behavior of that particular traffic, behavior of that particular malware and all. Now there are basically, they have divided into two categories, that is your secure operation center team, another one is incident response team. So in case of your secure operation center team, they will check whether the traffic we are getting it is accurate traffic, means the targeted traffic, is that one is exactly the malware. Do we need to take some actions because there are some data which is there already. Now when we are talking about incident response team, so these are the forensic teams which basically help about the information that which type of malware it is, how much uh, loss it can that malware can do in depth. Now they will also check for the analyze. You can say the 360-degree analyze can be done. How, and they will check about the behavior of the malware. So that is basically done by your incident response team. The next is your basically threat intelligence team and secure infrastructure. So in case of a threat intelligence team, they are basically a proactive team which basically work upon constantly improving the security of the organization, the infrastructure of the organization. And next comes your security infrastructure engineering team. So it is, we can say, the overall security is basically taken care by this particular team, that is secure infrastructure team, which basically act on the threat, the information that they come into consideration as soon as possible, and sometimes they also do some automated way to detect and whatever action if they need to take, so that can be taken by the automated systems, or we can say that automated softwares. Yeah. The next is the best practice to secure the devices, the technologies that we are working for. So there is one organization that is known as NIST, National Institute of Standard Technology, which provides certain kinds of protocols. So we can say that the guidelines, the repositories are basically given by this organization, that how to take care of this kind of malware or this type of attack. So in that way, they have divided in, they have given three categories, that is perform a risk assessment, now create a security policy, and physical security measures. So in this one, when we are talking about perform a risk assessment, so in this particular context, we should first understand what are the value, or in which way we are protecting the device, the network, which will basically help to secure your increase the security level. Now, when you are talking about create a security policy, so these are again certain protocols or the rules that is clearly mentioned to the organization, that what are the jobs you need to take care of, what are the roles you need to take care of. Like if action team is there, so their work is to take some certain action. If any other team is there whose work is to detect, so they will be detecting it, and as soon as possible they will be reporting this incident to the action team, so that they can take some action so that they can protect that particular organization or the device from the malware. And they again in that particular security can create security policies. There are certain responsibilities are being divided among the teams, and the employees expectations. Expectations means we should train the people of that particular organization in such a way that the employees who are working in that particular organization by their own also they can able to detect it, and they are also have some certain kind of knowledge so that they can also take some certain actions to secure that particular device or the network. The next is the physical security measures. So these are what the measures, the steps, the restrictions they are basically taking to the networking system so that nobody can, means everybody cannot access that particular area, the servers where they have located some important files, and some fire suppression should be there. So in this one, they will first limit the amount of people who are coming and going into that particular restricted area, and if any kind of physical damage is there, then physical damage can be happen. For that, what are the steps they are taking off? So this is what is done by a physical security measures. Okay. Now next is their human resource security measures. So in this one, we are basically talking about the background check of the employees. Like, do they have like criminal activity? Did they have been blocked by certain companies? If they have been blocked or restricted by certain companies, then what are the issues that has been created by this particular employee? That is why they have been blocked by the company. So that is what is known as a complete background check of the employees, so that the employee who is currently working in an organization that cannot come into that cannot bring the threats into the company. The next is perform and test backups. So these are what the regular tests and they use to regular tests should be done into that particular organization, so that in case of any attack, so the data recovery, the data that is present in the system, that should be in a backup mode that can be get recovered. Next is your maintain security patches and updates. So these are the regularly updates needs to be done in the server, the clients and the network, and the operating systems which are basically working, which we are using in the organization. Next, employee access control. So these are basically the privileges that is called as access control list. We can say, or we can say that the privileges has been given to the certain organization, certain users by the organization, which do have certain kind of authentications that who can access, what are the resources they can access, and what are the changes they can make it. So this is known as your employee access control. Next is your regularly test incidents response. So in this one, an employee and we can employ an incident response to the team and test emergency response scenario should be get given, so that there is we can say the checksum, like or means knowingly we are creating some incidents. Now what are the actions has been taken by the different teams according to their roles, as like how much time they have taken, are we able to get the network into the security, are we getting the recoveries of that particular data, are we giving the backups of the data. So in this way they are also testing their steps, whether they are in case if any malware or any attack will happen, so in that case will they able to make it or not. Okay. Okay. Now next we'll be talking about the behavior approach to the security. Now behavior, when you are talking about behavior approach of your security, so we are basically talking upon certain forms of your threat detections, and then we are capturing that data, we are detecting it, or we can say that capturing that kind of threats and analyzing it, then we are communicating that particular threat or the malware with the users and the network team, then the local remote destination teams, and how we are normalizing our organization from that kind of anomalies in a normal way. So in that way, it has been divided. Here it is like honeypots are there. So in these honeypots, we are basically checking and detecting about the behavior of the tools. Tool that lure the attackers by appealing to their prediction pattern of the malicious behaviors. So once the attacker is inside the honeypot, the network admin can able to detect or capture that, and the logs can be get generated, and then they can analyze the behavior or the pattern of attack they are doing it, and for what purpose they are checking up or logging or analyzing. So in future their defense will be increased. The security level, they can improve their security level. For that only they are using this kind of things. The next is in Cisco Cyber Threat Defense Solutions. So this is a certain kind of security architecture which again check about your behavior based on the detection, and it indicates or the indicators will be get generated to provide general visibility, context and control over that one. So the main aim is to carry out the attack, and they will be thinking, and in this, what type of attack they are performing, when they are performing, where they are performing, and how much depth the attack is. Taking all these particular factors, the security architectures which are basically used by the organization, so they will increase the security technologies to avoid this kind of any kind of malicious activities or attacks that may be happening in future. Okay. Now next is your net flow. So this is what is net flow is nothing but a technology which is basically used to gather the information about the data that is flowing into the network, whether it is incoming data or whether it is outgoing data, right? So based on that, who and what are the devices in the network which is basically connected, and when and how the users are accessing this particular network. So this is what the total pattern they are understanding it. Now, in case of a network, the main important component is the behavior based on the detection and analyzing, like the switch, the routers, the firewall, which are basically used in this particular net flow, can report this information about the data entering into that particular network, or whether it is leaving the network, and does it traveling through the network. Okay, so in this way they are checking the patterns, the behavior of this data flow. Now in this particular information is basically sent whenever we have detected this kind of behavior of this particular data flow. So this information is basically sent to the net flow collectors that can collect this information, store and analyze the net flow data to establish a baseline behavior. More than 90 attributes will be get used, such as your destination address, IP address, or source IP address. So these are the details they will be taking into the consideration. Like you can say that you can check it the incepts packet. So destination IP, source IP, port number, destination port number, layer 3 protocol. So these every details they will be checking into this one. The next is your penetration testing. So this penetration testing is also known as pen testing, or we can say that assessments, or a computer does a network or an organization that is basically used for your security vulnerability. So a pen testing does what? It is one type of breach system where the people, the processes, the codes which are basically there in the company could exploit the vulnerability. So in this particular thing, the system defends to ensure the better use or capable or able to withstand with the cyber attack in future. So first one is you need to do planning. The second is you need to scan, means you are testing it, right? So you will be testing which are the important ports, which are the weakness of this particular network, from where it can be the malicious, the attacker can get into that one. For that we can put some surveillance methods like port scanning, right? The vulnerability scannings. Then we need to check upon some active connection to the target so that the user or the system, the admin accounts can identify this kind of attacks. Now, third is your gaining access. So in this pen tester attempts, they will try to, for attempters are basically, their attempts is to gain access to the targeted system by sniffing your network traffic, by using multiple various ways or the methods to exploit your system. So in this, they will check into launching an exploit with a payload into the system, breaching any physical assets, social engineering. Next, they can go through your website, but exploit websites, exploit some software, hardwares, and any misconfiguration can be done. Next is your breaching access control, and next is your Wi-Fi. They will track the Wi-Fi, and so that they can get into the organization networks. Okay, so their main target is to gain the access. Now, fourth step is maintaining your access. So when the pen testers will check about to maintain the access of the target. So for that, what they need to do, they need to find out the data in the system that is basically vulnerable for the exploitation. So for that, they must remain undetected, typically by using the backdoors. So maybe their attackers will be using some Trojan horse, rootkits, so that they can hide their presence in that particular network. So when this infrastructure is already placed in that particular network, now the pen tester then gather that particular data, they consider that which is might be vulnerable, which can be used by the attackers. Now, step 5 is analyze it. We need to analyze which kind of updates needs to be done. Okay, what are the policies needs to be implemented, and next is your reporting. Now, after doing these things, we need to report this one to the securities, means organizational security, so that in upcoming futures that we can increase our security levels. All right. The next is your impact and reductions. So when you're talking
Ma'am,
about,
can you please
yes,
show me the second step to slide?
second step.
Second step. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. This one is done, na?
Yes, yes,
This one?
yes.
Okay. So in this particular impact reduction, so as the name suggests, whatever impact has been done into that particular network, or the any threat has been already taken taken control of that particular organization data or anything that got sacrificed. So this impact reduction does what? It is basically the effort to prevent, or we can say that we will be taking some security practice, so that there should not be there should not be any attack like this can be done. So that is why the organization must prepare to contain the damage. Like we can, in the few slides back, we have talked about backups and recoveries. So these are what we can get out of this particular impact by getting the data. We need to put this data into multiple copies, so that in future, if anything will happen, they will not lose the data and all. And for that, here it has been 2 steps has been given, 2 points has been given. That is, communicate the issue. We will be communicating this issue to the team, and we will be talking about what are the actions should be taken care, what should we do for this kind of activities which has been taken. Now we should have the official announcement directly to the employees that this has been happened, how to improve ourselves to get out of this particular attacks which may be happen in the future. The next is be sincere and accountable. So you should be responsible. You should be responsible. You should be responding to the breaches honestly whenever it may be taking your organization. Right? What are the faults? What are the things that by in which way the attackers could reach to your particular servers or the other important files or documents. So for that, you should be responsible for that, right? The next is provide the details. So when you have been attacked by this particular malware or something, then we need to open up for this one and we need to explain each and every information what has been compromised. So generally, organization take care of all this client cost associated with the identity that has been already kept, the services, the results of the security breach. Next is find the cause. So you need to check out what are the for which purpose. So in which way we got attacked. So we need to find out. All right. Next, apply lesson and learn. So by this you need to learn from the forensic investigators that what are the things needs to be get applied so that similar breach should not get happen. Right. Next, when we are talking about learning, so again we need to improve that particular informations by getting trained by the cyber securities. Continuous training should be happen, like that kind of thing. The next is check and check again. So you need to every time you need to check for the backdoors, so that you can prevent this kind of compromises that has been already done. Next is your educate. So you need to have awareness trainings. We need to educate our employees, the partners, the clients, which is basically there in the network, so that we can prevent this kind of future breaches. Okay. Now next is what is the risk management? So when you are talking about the risk management, so it is a one kind of formal process which is basically used continuously to identify, to assess the risk so that we can reduce the impact of the threats and the vulnerabilities, right? So you know that we also know that we cannot eliminate the risk, but we can determine it and we can might be reducing the impact of the threat that may be happening with the cost of implementing the controls of the control to mitigate it. We should be having some cost of power should be done so that in future we can reduce the amount of risk. Like there are frame the risk means we need to identify the threats so that we can check about the increasing risk factors. Now the threats which has been already detected, so we need to process it. We need to process it may include the processes, the products, the risk, the attacks, the potential failure, the services, the negative perceptions of the organization reputations, and it may leads into the loss of intellectual properties. There may be the potential legal liabilities can be done. So in this way, these are the we can say that negative approach means once the organization got into any kind of risk. So what are the means in future what can happen to the organization? First of all, the reputation will go down. There can be a legal liabilities. The client can take any kind of legal action. Next is the loss of your intellectual properties will be there. Next, your access the risk. So for that you need to determine the severity of the that particular threat. Now, for example, some threats may bring entire organization to stand still. Means no other particular client will able to have trust on this particular organization. So it is impossible to convince them. So you can prioritize this risk by assessing the financial impact or the organizational reputations. Okay. Next is the respond to the risk. So what are the things you need to take into action? You need to plan so that it can reduce the overall risk of the organization to get exposed to the any kind of threat, so that we can we can eliminate the risk, we can mitigate, and we can transfer or accept which kind of things you can do. The next is monitoring the risk. So you need to continuously monitor the risk so that might be we can reduce the amount of attack. We can eliminate certain kind of risk by monitoring it, by the threat, the monitoring the threats very closely. Means we need to understand the behavioral approach to this one. Correct? The next is a Cisco approach to the cyber security. So in this one, just have a look of this because there are certain the same things has been got repeated, and there are certain teams that is CSIR that basically receive, review, and respond to the computer securities. Now Cisco has already said this CSIRT, which takes the further steps to provide the proactive threats assessments, mitigation plan, incident trend analyze, then security architectures. They have already improved this thing. Now, when you're talking about again Cisco CSIRT, so it is a proactive approach which collab with FIRST, that is Forum of Incident Response and Security Team, with NSIER and DSIER, and the DNS operations are DNS operation analyzes and research centers have been already established. So this ensures that we stay up to date with the new developments. Developments means new developed techniques of attacks, the malwares. Okay. The next is security playbook. So this is basically the best approach or best way to prepare your organization for any kind of security breach, so that we can detect it from earlier and we can prevent it. So there are certain guidelines has been provided by the guidelines are there which the organization should follow and take into consideration. First is we need to identify the cybersecurity risk to the system. The assets where might be the attackers will attack. The data, which are the important data. Now the capabilities. Now for that we need to implement some safeguards, some personal training should be done. And for again next step is flexible response to the plan, means minimizing the impact and the damage by preventing this kind of attack by increasing the security so that in future there should not be any kind of security breach. Now placing security measures and processes that should be taken care so that the security improvement should be done. Okay. Now just go through with this one. All of you just have a look. See, when it comes to playbook is nothing but we can say that it is a one kind of book which is having the collection of repetitive queries, the reports that already has been detected, and what are the responses we have taken care of. So these are one kind of guideline or the book which is containing 1, 2, 3, 4 malwares and what are the steps has been taken. One kind of guidebook we can say, right? So in which they will identify the particular risk, then if and then automate response. What are the common threats? What are the based on the detection of malware, the infected machines, the suspicious network activity, and what are the authentication attempts has been done. Okay, irregular authentication attempts they have been done by this particular attack. Now it will also describe clearly about the inbound and outbound traffic. Next, the overall information, including the trends, the statics, and the countdowns. Okay, it also provides usable and quick access to the key statics and the metrics. Now, after that, one last, that is your correlate event across all relevant data sources. So these are what one kind of book which is basically having the past incidents that has already been done by the attackers and what are the responses, and they will also in that particular book also the anomalies, the activity, the pattern, the what are the attempts that has been taken by this kind of attacks by the attackers. So everything is there in that book. So that is known as your security playbook. Okay, so in next class we will be starting with this particular slide. So if I'll not remember, then please remind me. We will be starting with this one. Okay, that is your tools for incident detection and prevention. So once we'll be finishing up this fourth module, we'll be having the last module, that is your fifth one. Okay, so for today up to this, I'm just closing with this one. So from Monday we'll be starting with the next slide. Yeah. So see you again, guys. Bye bye to all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.